Today is a good day. I'm going to install my driver new status racing seat in my BMW M3. Reasons for owning the driver is when I ordered my rails, I accidentally ordered one set instead of two. So I'm waiting for the second set for the passenger seat. But at least I can get the driver's seat in, see how I like it, take it on a couple drives, see if the seating position is where I want it to be. I'm using the Braycross BK rails that allows me to use the OEM slides from the BMW, so I still have the automatic move back and forward adjustment capabilities rather than it being manual slide with manual slide rails and whatnot. So it probably won't get as low as it would have been if I used like Planet Rails or something like that, but I'm gonna test this out, see how I like it. I did order some of the other combo, which some people said weren't the best combination of setting up. They said this was a great combo for the car. So we're gonna find out. I'll share that with you guys as soon as I get this seat in. So I'm gonna go pull the car out and start getting that seat out. What's going on, BoostedMob family? I'm Boostedtrav. If this is the first time for you tuning in, I thank you for checking out my content. If you're back again, I thank you for continuing to check out my content. If you're new or you've been watching videos and you haven't subscribed, definitely check the link below and subscribe. I'll appreciate it. It's definitely a sweet, sweet thing to be able to own a Lotus Evora and a BMW M3. That's still one of two of my ultimate dream cars. This became a car that I fell in love with along the way, as it had a lot of the passion and sensation that I was looking for in a car. But specifically about this car, I was out late last night. It wasn't my best park job. These seats in this car are actually the Sparco seats. For many who don't really know, these are the same Sparco seats they use in the Alfa Romeo Quadrifoglio Giulia. So these were actually the same racing seats I was gonna buy for the M3. These are called the Sparco SBX, and you can buy the SBX, same one that Lotus now puts in the GT edition, which is the carbon back ones, which honestly is like $3,000 a seat. And after owning it in the Lotus and the way that the seating position is on that car with those seats, I wouldn't say I'd spend $3,000 a seat for that type of seat. I mean, status seats, I think I paid about $1,800 and $200 per rail. So you're talking, $2,200 all in for seats and rails for this car, which I think is way better than paying $3,000 just for one seat that hasn't really been that great. It's much better than the seats I have in the BMW, but it has taught me that you don't necessarily need to go chase like Recaro, Sparco, and all these so-called higher-end seats. The biggest thing is that if it's FIA approved, if you're actually trying to use a seat for racing. But for this car, the reason why I went with status, as I mentioned in my previous video, was that I really appreciated the way that I was able to customize it without giving up an arm and a leg to do so. Basically, all their seats are spec'd to be customized at the same price. And there are some price add-ons that I don't know about, but on their website, they have a ton of different colors for the siding, the backing, the piping, the stitching, if you want to add your own custom logo, if you want to change the colors of their logo. As y'all saw, I went with a very clean, trying to do an OEM-like look for the replacement of my seats, because I have a black interior, and I'm going to try and update that black interior with black Alcantara, so those seats do have that faux suede Alcantara type look to kind of start that transformation. But anyways, let me go ahead and hop in this car and get this pulled out. I am super, super, super excited to get rid of these seats. But one thing I really will say, my favorite feature of this seat has been this thing right here. This gives my knees, my legs, such good stability that I never get like that tiredness in the back of my leg. But I quickly just looked at the bolts that they used to get these out, and I honestly don't know if I have that star pattern bolt. So this might already become a major fail, but I'm about to find out. Another thing that's so crazy, I haven't driven this car in a very long BMW smell. I've always said you could blindfold me and put me in a couple of different cars and just taking a whiff, I could tell you what car you're in. And every time I get in this car, I can smell the smell of BMW M3. It's crazy. So I wonder, if that'll still be the case once I start taking out a little bit of this interior. I'm certain my neighbors do not like the startup of this car at all. one of the things with getting the BK mounts is that the benefit is that they can be used with your OEM rails, which is a benefit because the OEM rails were engineered for the stability and crash testing requirements that you would want in your seats. So a lot of what I read in the forums is that people who have swapped from like Recaro rails or Mach Schnell rails or sliders or whatever that stuff may be to the BK mounts, it was a much more stable seat. And you also got to keep your seatbelt receptacle in the position where it moves properly with the seat, so that's such that it's not in a hard place to reach. And I thought that from a OEM standpoint and trying to build out kind of like an OEM plus M3 GTS, GT3 car myself, I wanted to kind of keep it as clean and refined as I can, rather than just going with, you know, the best easy solution out there. Now, if you have manual slides on your OEM BMW M3, it is a breeze. It's simply as easy as installing any other rails. But if you have power slides, you have to basically do your own P&P wiring for connecting the ground, the powering, such that you can use the buttons to still power forward and backwards on your seats. You could cut out your old harness and use that basically to click back into the harness. But I kind of wanted to keep my seats intact in case I wanted to sell them or I ever went back to them for whatever reasons that could happen down the road. So I ended up buying some wiring and some male and female connectors to do my own P&P wiring setup. BK gives you a decent instructions manual when you buy them, but they're kind of built around the E46 gen, so some things still make sense, others not so much. So you kind of go by gut, and for those who are better at wiring, this might be easier to do, but for me, it was kind of a quick learning curve to understand, okay, what is it do I have to do? So I'm gonna quickly show you guys what my next steps are gonna be. I do have to cut one wire, but I looked at the length at which I can cut it, and I can still reconnect that wire later. So I'm okay with doing that. But for like the harness, you're talking like 13 or 14 wires that need to be cut off rather than just 2. So I'll be willing to do 2, and that can still be somewhat reversible, where the other one would be a little bit more difficult. So let me go ahead and show you guys that real quick. On installation is pretty simple. You have 4 bolts bolted at each corner. The bolt is a T45, as simple as that. Then you have this here. There's a little black clip, I already did it, but you can see this right here on the side. It's pushed in, which is pushing that in like that. So you grab it like this, and it pops this out. You take that out, and then you have this thing right here that you have to undo. And after that, you're pretty much good to take the seat out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick and get the seat out. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I may be slightly in over my head. I did manage to disconnect everything that was plugging everything together. What I need to understand now is what I need from here, what I need from there to be able to power this so that I can still have slide function. I'm waiting on an E30 switch that I can use that I'll be wired in to be able to access movement. But I need to figure out what I need to maintain for this such that this plugs back into the ground plug that will still operate that power. So I got a little bit of research to figure out. And once I figure that out, we'll be on our way. But it's pretty easy to get these off. There is a special key slot on one side of this. You don't want to use a torque bolt. Here, you definitely want to use the 19mm nuts here to unscrew here, here, and here. So there's 4 of those. That disconnects this from the frame. After that, you basically just unplug everything. This is where you get to this situation. So I'll be back once I figure out what needs to be plugged and wired up to be able to move to the next step. So one thing to notice, this is the harness switch that I was talking about. You can see there's all these different wiring. What's most important from this harness is that you use this red and brown wire, as well as these 2 brown wires here. This is what you'll use to connect to the E30 switch. You'll have 5 prongs here. Let me let it focus in on real quick. Struggling. Hold on. There we go. So you have 5 prongs here, and 2 of them are for using the brown wires. One of them is going to be the red and brown wire. So that's 3 of the 5. 2 of them are going to be what comes from this switch over here. I believe it's the purple and yellow switch, and there is a specific order to how you need to do this. I'll quickly show a quick pic of the instructions for this, and that's really all that really matters from the wiring standpoint. Now, you could cut this harness
and basically, you know, do a same kind of extension on the wiring here, because you won't have enough. And you could cut this and you can use the red, brown, brown and just get some additional wiring and then extend that over to this button. But I didn't want to do that. So here is the other switch that's here. Like I said, I'm going to cut the yellow and blue wiring off of that and then basically extend it such that it can reach my seat over here. So it's pretty simple. I'm going to get started on that. We'll find out how simple it is in a second. You'll see that what's most important here is the pin connections. Yeah, so you'll see those flat male pins there, the bigger ones. We just got to replicate where those get inserted to the switch on the car, and then basically as long as it's wired up, you're good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. So like I was explaining, I bought all this stuff off Amazon. I got, when I was saying the connections, I got these butt splice connectors so that I can use, I bought some other wiring, I can connect this wiring to the wiring that I need here, as well as to the clamp, the pins that I have here. I have some male and female pins. So the butt clamps will allow me to clamp the two wiring here to this wiring, and then I'll use this wiring to basically have a male connector similar to what's here, and I'll make sure that I plug that into the right slot, and then female connectors on the tail end that will connect to my switch, which happened to disappear right now, but it's as simple as that. So butt connector for two wires, female connectors on the end of those wires to plug into the E30 switch, and then wiring with male and female connectors that extend for the power and ground. And I think I have to rabbit splice the ground because I need two ground wires. And I don't know if it has to be the same two ground wires off a single source or not, so I need to figure that out very quickly. What's going on, guys? So I actually got this all wired up. As you can see, just a bunch of the crimp clamps there, and then at the end, so this is the power and this is the ground. These are what plug into the yellow clamp on the floor in the car. Then I got lucky. So originally I said I had to cut this. Well, I looked at the connection. You're gonna struggle with me here. I looked at the connection. I realized I can actually just plug into this plug without cutting the wires. So you can see on the end here, I just have those same plugs. Those just plug right in. I'll add a little electrical tape to keep them secure, and basically I have a completely cut-free job to plug in and tap my P&P wiring for the seats. I'm gonna quickly go ahead and finish plugging this in, like I said, get this seat down in there, and then I can get it bolted. Pretty happy. New seat is in, guys, and as you can see, I press this switch here, we go back. Press this switch here, we go forward. Pretty snazzy on OEM slides. It actually looks like the seat is a little higher than the OEM seat, so that's a freaking shame. But so far, looking good. For a skinny man, my balls squished.
It's live.
Oh, is it really?
It's live, baby.
Oh, man.
It's live.
It's live. That's how it is.
These can go in your bloopers.
It feels cool. I mean, I don't feel that much lower. I guess I feel a little bit lower. Go ahead and get some power. I think there's a light in here I gotta take out. Otherwise, some pretty nice OEM slide action. Let's go ahead and take this bad boy out. It's been about a year. All kinds of lights on this car right now, Whew, it is so hot here in Texas, guys. These summers are no joke. But one thing I will say so far after driving the car, first thing, boy, to my neighbors, this joint is so loud. Like, my brother was standing outside, he said he could hear me as I left the neighborhood, went down the street, came back. He could literally hear every gear change. It really do be like that. But I'm excited to finally have my driver's seat in. I'm gonna get the passenger seat in probably next week when I get back. It's gonna be really simple since I know exactly what to do. Like probably 2 hours max to get the seat out, do all the wiring to get the seat back in. And like I said, I think I might have said purple or blue, but yeah, it's definitely the yellow. It's definitely the blue and purple wires you wanna be able to sync up to. But as you saw, you don't even need to cut wires, which is beautiful. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I do have some other goodies on the way for the car. There's gonna be a lot of great transformation for this I almost said GT3. For this M3 that I'm trying to create like an M3 GTS, GT3 RS type spec. So it's gonna be like the M3 GTS or M3 RS. Like I got some pretty cool stuff on the way. Seats are just the start. And yeah, it's slightly poserish because with the supercharger, I probably won't ever track the car. And I'm definitely adding track goodies to it. But whatever, but it is what it is. I ain't gonna complain. This is what I've been wanting to do to this car. I've always fell in love with that look. It's gonna get done. I got the Lotus in the garage, also still looking so good. I love my Lotus. This is a real sick combo. I got a really nice mid-engine car. I got a really nice V8 high revving sports sedan coupe. So that's pretty dope. So let me show you real quick what's next on the list. And like I said, everything I'm gonna be doing is mostly DIY. I just put it upon myself to take the risk, and the risk I shall take, and I really don't know if the results will be good, but we shall see. So right over here in this pile that my fiance is getting tired of seeing because I just got so much ish in this hallway, but right down here you can take a quick sneak peek at what's to come. Yeah, buddy.